Everything you knew about that, it wasn't enough for you. It was never enough.
Yo, what's good, y'all? It's Lil Swoop Dafuture. I'm in the lab right now breaking down one of my most personal songs on my album, Love Life, The First Flame. The name of the track is Trust Issues, and the official music video drops this Monday. So I wanted to give y'all a little exclusive behind the scenes look at how I built this record from the ground up. So let's get into it. So I started with this beat that just felt raw, felt emotional. So I'm gonna play it for you real quick. It's no vocals yet, it's just the instrumental. So that brings me to the leads. This is where the story really starts. You know, I wanted the tone of it to feel like it's a conversation, almost like I'm venting, but still keeping my composure. The idea for this song was to do it mostly sing, and then I have a second verse in there that I rap that I felt was just needed. You know, for this type of song, you want to get a little bit more personal, get a little bit more raw. So we're gonna play that right now.
Tryna trust in you, but I'm a fool, ain't it? Cause every time we cool, you in your mood, baby. Feel like I can't try with you, cause you gon' move crazy. You confused, ain't them other dudes waiting. Ain't trusting you if you can't be mine, baby. I need you stuck with me, right on the tub with me. Need you to treat me like you just can't get enough of me. You said put your love in me, sorry.
You can kind of hear now how it cuts through, but still sits right in that pocket. You feel me? But we gonna move on to the harmonies. The harmonies is really where like that emotion starts to open up, you know, and I stack mids, highs, and even some lows to give it that warm, full feel, you know. So um, I say my advice to anybody doing harmonies is be creative, you know, like you control that emotion, you control where that uplifting comes from. And in certain parts, you know, you can make it feel like it's more alive rather than it feeling, you know, stagnant or feeling consistent. You know, you always want to break it up. And that's kind of what I did with the first verse. You know, I left some room there to let the leads kind of sit. But you know, I had some parts that I added to or I complemented or harmonized with. So you're gonna hear a little bit of that. Um, I'm gonna actually solo the harmonies for the first verse real quick, so you hear how like rare it is within the first verse. I'm not going all out like I would go on the pre-hook or like the hook. You know, I'm kind of just easing in there. So here are the harmonies. So you got a little room here. It's very slight. That's all for the first verse. So if you want to hear what that sounds like with it, you kind of hear how it's very slight.
Tryna trust in you, but I'm a fool, ain't it? Cause every time we cool, you in your mood, baby. Feel like I can't try with you, but you gon' move crazy. You confused, ain't them other dudes waiting. Ain't trusting you if you can't be mine, baby. I need you.
You feel me? So when you get into that pre-hook and that hook is when you really start to hear those harmonies kind of come together and kind of fill it up a little bit more and you know bring a little character to it.
It's getting hard to trust, so I think I still need it. Got me thinking about us, cause you might be my saving, baby. Yeah, this love, I can't shake this feeling. It keeps me distant, but you know I love you.
So you hear how that sounds and it feels like it has a personality of its own, separate from the leads. Even though I have some stacks in there, I still mix them a certain way for them to feel like like something to add rather than it feeling like it's a part of the leads or it's like the leads. You want it to feel like it has this complementing characteristic. So together, this is what that sounds like.
For me to say put your love in me, sorry if I ain't up, but you stay down. Cause other niggas ain't no shit that play around. You say you love me later, baby, say now. Tell me that you finally came round. Girl, don't you go turn in the page now. You care, I might have a break down. Cause girl, I ain't okay right now. Now I've been in my
So the last piece is the ad libs. Now these are the accents, the emotions between the lines. Um, and I got some stabs, echoes, even a couple little melodic riffs. But you're gonna hear how towards the end you really get the majority of the ad libs that you put on this song. The approach with that is just towards the ending of my songs, I want to leave it off on a good note and probably the best note and set the bar to where like it could go no further. You know what I mean? I feel like songs kind of work in a way the same way we look at movies. The hook is more of this thing of like the character's default environment. In superhero movies, usually they're the neighborhood civilian, and they go on this adventure, they go through so much, and then they come back to that environment, and that's how we treat hooks with music. We come back to that environment, and we see how the character is interacting with it now. If there's tension, or if everything is happily ever after, that's where you get the closing chapter of that story. And with ad libs, that's how sacred they are to me, especially towards that ending. So first ad lib starts in the first pre-hook, so we're gonna play that right now. I'm gonna mute this real quick. I'm gonna mute the leads and the harmonies. I'll keep the beat on so you kind of see where we're at. So those were like echoes, and you can call them stabs too. Then I have this part. You feel me? It's just something slight. So the last ad libs, I'm going to play what those sound like with the leads and the harmonies muted. What that sounds like with everything on it, you really hear how it comes together. So.
I held your pain inside my arms. You met my calm with abuse, and that's real. If I ain't up, but you stay down. Cause other niggas ain't no shit they play around. You say you love me later, baby, say now. Tell me that you finally came round. Girl, she gon' turn into bitch now. If you care, I might have a break down. Cause girl, I ain't okay right now. Hard to trust, that's why I think I still need it. Got me thinking about us, cause you might be my saving, baby. Yes, this love, I can't shake this feeling that keeps me distant. Still love, yeah.
If you rock with this breakdown, make sure to tune in to the music video when it drops this Monday, and it's a part of my R&B album, Love Life, The First Flame, out now on all platforms.